This is the most important mechanic in Battlefield 6. The more you shoot, the greater your weapon spread becomes, and to control it, you need to fire in short bursts. You can see this scope has a lot of zoom for, well, a short range weapon, right? But in any case, firing in short bursts will limit our spread. Generally, as a rule of thumb, the higher the rate of fire of the weapon, the harder it is to control the spread, because spread builds up faster as we shoot. So the way to control this is to fire short bursts, but without leaving too much pause between those bursts. Let me explain. You don't want to shoot like this, one bullet at a time. You want to shoot like this, leaving only a very small pause between bursts. See? It's like clicking the mouse quickly, but not so quickly that you end up shooting single shots. This way we can take short-range weapons and use them at longer distances we normally shouldn't be able to shoot at effectively. Also, depending on what we're doing, both our initial and final spread will vary. You can see that when I move while hip firing, the crosshair opens up. That indicates our spread. When we move, spread is always greater. It's the same when aiming down sights. The difference is that we don't see a crosshair then. Here you see me shooting in full auto, and then I start firing bursts. But if we really want accuracy at range, we have to shoot while standing still or crouching. Now, what's the problem? In a shooter, when you stand still, you become an easy target. It's very easy for a sniper to kill you and so on. So what should we do? When we know someone isn't looking at us and we have the opportunity to catch them from the side, we can stand still or even crouch, but it's riskier. Going prone? Well, that's even riskier, but that depends on the situation. You should just know that it's important to be aware of your position before firing. Also, our weapon's fire mode affects the spread. If we switch to semi-auto, look, I'm going to change the scope to 5 times and you'll see it's a laser. This also includes burst fire modes of 2 or 3 bullets that some weapons have. For example, look, laser. In Battlefield, bullets don't hit instantly like in other games, for example, Call of Duty. Bullets have travel time, a velocity, and they physically exist in the game world. When we shoot someone, we have to aim a bit ahead of where they are to compensate for bullet speed. We've mentioned that in Battlefield, it's necessary to fire in bursts to limit spread. However, there's another mechanic that goes against this, the first shot recoil multiplier. The first shot always has more recoil than the rest in a burst. So, we need to keep that in mind when firing bursts at long range to control that initial recoil. Different weapons have different first shot multipliers. For example, this weapon has a very high multiplier, but also very good spread control, so it balances out a bit. We can do slightly longer bursts, but that doesn't mean we should go crazy on them. We still need to keep them relatively short, maybe 3 or 4 shots. It also helps that the amount of recoil a weapon has is proportional to its rate of fire, and this weapon has a low rate of fire, so we can use slightly longer bursts. With high fire rate weapons like the M4A1, we'll have to fire very short bursts because the recoil builds up very quickly. A peculiarity of snipers in Battlefield is that if you shoot the chest from this red line upward at a certain distance X, which varies depending on the sniper rifle, in this beta there's only one, so I'll test with this one, you'll kill in a single shot. See? 100 damage. But if I hit here up close, 80, see, 74, 70, it varies. However, as always, if we land a headshot, we'll always kill in one hit at any distance. Also, remember that one of the recon specs is that when you get a headshot kill, enemies can't be revived. They're dead instantly. It's a lethal shot. The time it takes for a weapon to kill an enemy is called TTK, time to kill, and it's calculated with the following formula, which is very simple. We take the number of shots needed to kill, in this case, for example, 3 headshots, subtract 1 divided by the rate of fire in RPM, and then divide that by 60. In this case, it comes out to about 145 milliseconds, which is very fast, but remember that's for headshots. If we shoot the body, we'll see it's 4 shots, giving a TTK of about 217 milliseconds. Considering that the average human reaction time is between 200 and 250 milliseconds, faster for pro players and all of that, It's very hard to react to these TTKs when we're so close to the enemy, but if you notice, when we shoot someone farther away, and we'll generally be firing bursts too, we'll usually be dealing with TTKs closer to 300 milliseconds or more, which you can react to. Therefore, being at close range is very dangerous and forces you to focus more and pre-aim much better. You always have to predict where the enemy will appear, especially when you're at that dangerous distance. Each weapon does different headshot damage. For example, the shotgun doesn't do extra headshot damage. It has a headshot multiplier of just 1. The M433, for example, does 1.35 times headshot damage, and the NVO does 1.7 times damage if we use certain ammo that increases it from 135. What does this mean? Generally, when we take the headshot damage boosting attachment, the soft point, it will reduce the number of shots to kill to the head by 1. Each weapon, depending on its attachments, also has a different aim down sight time in milliseconds. For example, by default, rifles are around 250, but if we go to an SMG, they start at 167. Considering human reaction time is 200, you'll start to notice that delay, especially with LMGs, which already have over 300 millis, even 400. Sniper rifles will also kind of feel it. This one, for example, isn't too bad if you upgrade it. It starts at 300, but I've improved it. What does this have to do with TTK? Well, the sooner we can aim, the sooner we can shoot, so it partially factors into that TTK. Of course, if we use weapons that are great from the hip, like the M4A1, we can just keep shooting from the hip without spending that time aiming. Mobility stat determines how quickly we strafe. For example, if we take this LMG, which has a very low value, our strafing will be very slow. However, if we pick an SMG, we'll see we move at lightning speed. Why is this relevant? Because when we move quickly from left to right, we're more evasive, and it's more likely the other person will miss when engaging us. Anyway, if you like this video, well, this is YouTube, you know what to do.